Nicolas Bohem there, unable to take his food bag in the red jersey. Don't think they'll let the red jersey and stage winner a couple of days ago go hungry though. Orica Green Edge working on the front of the peloton. Today they're riding for either Simon Gerrans or Michael Matthews. You saw them meeting on Giro Extra at the start. They're 1 minute and 47 behind this breakaway. Patrick Grech, Davide Apollonio, Enrico Barbin, Kenny Elissonde and Nicky van der Leke. 5 teams and different teams represented. Only 2 teams from the professional continental level and only 2 of the Italian teams as well, with Androni hardly ever missing a break. I think they've only missed 1 so far, so Gianni Savvi will be happy, although there was a fine for Swiss Tony last night. Irregular assistance. He was giving out some mechanical assistance a little too late yesterday. Sean Kelly's alongside me as always. We see Nicolas Bohem has finally got his jersey and he's finally got his lunch as well. Happy man. Sean, I'm looking around this commentary box. First things first, where are the cakes?
On the way.
The little birds told me that it's a very happy birthday to you today, so happy birthday, Sean.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll leave the cakes for later. With this final we have today, we don't have too many cakes because it is a real interesting final. You know, the first 126 kilometres pan flat, but a very difficult end here on those climbs. Short, but very, very steep.
84 k's to go. You can see that Kenny Elissonde's in the breakaway today. Here's Heinrich Hausler doing some lunch delivery. Of course, no cakes here, but perhaps they can give us a share in the champagne at the end, Sean. Something to celebrate, perhaps. And will the GC guys have something to celebrate today? Because last night on Italian television, Paolo Tiralongo was on the stage. He loves a bit of exposure, does Paolo Tiralongo. He was there for an hour afterwards, chatting to the television, getting his face on again and enjoying what, you never know, at 37 could be close to his last Giro. But he was saying, we've got something planned over the next few days. He seemed to suggest that Aru wants to take the Maglia Rosa, if he can, before the time trial. That would mean that he could go off last in the pink jersey, check the splits to Contador, Richie Porte, Uran and all the rest of the general classification contenders. Do you think it's hard enough to make a difference today? Remember that Aru is only at 3 seconds from Alberto Contador. Can he do something? Can he get in the Maglia Rosa today?
Well, I think looking at this race, you know, everything can happen. There's so much changes and it's such an exciting race. And, you know, looking at the race and, you know, you would be the normal tactics thrown out the window on many occasions. And yesterday again we see Contador going the attack, which was a surprise. Such a difficult day, you would expect him just, you know, to carry on there in that group of big favourites, get to the finish yesterday, get the day over with no. Contador put in an attack and we were asking the reason why, and we heard the reason later that he see that Aru was suffering a little bit, so he said, you were given to me after my crash, I'm returning to you now.
What was that little attack about yesterday for Contador? Was he just showing that he's the strongest?
Well, I think yes, to show as well, if you have good legs, it's always difficult to hold on. You're feeling really good that you're sitting in the group, never under real big pressure, and that final climb, Contador, he just put in a dig. I think he knew himself there was going to be nothing gained from it, but again, just to show that, you know, he's back, his injuries, all of that seems to be getting better by the day, and when you get an attack on a day like yesterday, it proves he has to be feeling good.
Contador feeling good. The problem is behind him. The breakaway are 1.5 minutes in front of the peloton who are behind them. Difficult today for the breakaway, and difficult for this man who's a sprinter, Davide Apollonio, riding with one of his former teammates, Patrick Grech, in fact one of his former lead-out men. He's riding for Androni now. 2 wins a few years ago, but he struggled since he came onto the scene. He actually spent a bit of time at Team Sky. Panjo Lobato here. A few of the Spanish press tipping him today, but it's a really, really hard finish. We've got ramps that go up all the way to 10, 11, 12% right on the line. Are we going to be looking at the GC guys to do something? Or are we going to be looking at the likes of Gilbert, Matthews, all those sorts of riders who like a very, very difficult but hard sprint finish? Let's hear from Gilbert.
Well,
we're with Philippe Gilbert here. One of the favourites for the day. It's a finish that should be apt for you.
Si on regarde l'arrivée en elle-même, ça peut bien me convenir. Après, bon, il y a une côte qui est très très dure.
Well, if you look at the finish, yeah, it's something that could suit me. But if you look at the hills to come before, it could be very, very difficult. Of course, we've got the GC guys who may be going to war on those hills, so we're going to have to see how it pans out. People looking for advantages for the time trial. So we're going to have to look at how it goes today. If there's a breakaway that goes from a long way and maybe gets to the end, we'll see. Of course, so far we've had a lot of breakaways going to the end. It's really difficult to say if I'm going to get my stage or get something, because the Giro's been really hard so far. Of course, there's been a lot of breaks that have gone to the end because of that, and we're going to have to see how each day goes. Philippe Gilbert saying that effectively he could win today, but being realistic in the fact that there is going to be a lot going on behind him and alongside him, and the racing may take it away from him, that possibility today.
Well, if it comes down to a final with all the general classification men battling it out, and we've been hearing a lot of noise from GC, especially Astana, Aru, and if they really race aggressively in the final, it's going to be difficult for Gilbert. A breakaway, I think that would be the opportunity for Gilbert to be in the breakaway, but we can see a clearer picture now, because that was before the race start. We have the breakaway, but they're not being allowed to ride away. It's still 1:36 and 80 kilometers to go, so they're not pulling out a big advantage. And let's not remember, like, this race was very fast in the beginning as well. They were going at an unbelievable speed, and that tells that there were so many teams, so many riders trying to get into the break again. And it's not surprising, because with the breakaway succeeding, I think a lot of director sporties are saying, okay guys, be careful today, the breakaway could go all the way. Who's going to control in the first 126 kilometers on that flat section? But we have a picture here where it's Ulrika Greenedge want to get it down to a sprint for today's stage.
We've also, there's quite a bit of headwind out there on the road at the minute on the flat section. When they get in the hills, it's not going to be as much of a problem. It's nice and controlled at the minute by the peloton. You can see there's a bit of fighting for position there early on. We've seen Ulrika Greenedge riding Ethics Quickstep near the front. And of course, we're 79 k's from the finish now. The weather's about to change. You can see it's very dark in the hills in the distance. 140 away, and a few of the GC teams coming to the front to keep their guys out of danger. It's dark, murky. There's danger ahead. Heading to Vicenza today, the home of Campagnolo. Lots of cycling history here. Of course, Vicenza wanting to host the World Championships in 2020. They've made the bid. They're hoping that it's going to be accepted. There's lots of very interesting short, steep climbs around here. They're going to see a few of them today. We've got 3 categorised climbs coming up. We have all in the final 55 kilometres, in fact, the Castelnuovo, which has got quite easy-ish ramps, certainly compared with what's to come after that. It's a 4th category climb. Then Cruzada, which is really short, but really steep, 17% the maximum gradient there, an average up at around 10. And then we go to Monteberico. It's almost flat for the final 10 kilometres, but then right inside the final kilometre, the road rises all the way to the finish line. An interesting finish, a strange-looking finish, really, Sean. So it's bizarre to see so much of the stage completely flat, and then you have these 3 lumps at the end that could cause chaos.
Yes, it could cause chaos, and the weather conditions, if we get the weather that looks out ahead, the black cloud, rain possible, it's going to make it more difficult again and make it very nervous for everybody. In normal conditions, good weather, it would be a very difficult final. And Castelnuovo, you said not too difficult, but when you look at the percentage, it's 5.4 kilometers roughly, but it's still a testing one. If they race very hard on it, very aggressively, well then it's going to split this bunch, and we're going to see a lot of riders going out the trapdoor.
Well, it's almost becoming cliche recently, but we saw it in the first week, didn't we? It's not always the parkour that makes the race, it's the racing that makes the race. It's how they race it. And we had those first few stages that were up and down. They didn't have the high mountains, but we saw some fantastic racing on it. Again, it could happen. The weather's getting darker. The rain isn't far away. We saw Juan Antonio Fletcher and Ashley Haas with those rather silly brollies on their head earlier on, having some fun on Giro Extra. And it's pretty clear that the riders are racing right into that now. Just about a minute and a half for Grech, Barbin, Van der Leyke, Apollonio and Elisond. In the meantime, looking around the commentary box, still no cream cakes arrived, but I've learned today, Sean, you share a birthday with Mark Cavendish.
That's true. And the cream cakes, we better hold off the cream cakes for the end of the stage, because when you look at this parcours today, if we have the cakes, we're going to be certainly in difficulty to stay with the main part of the peloton, the front of the peloton.
We need to shed all the weight we can. Get the coffees in instead then. By the way, Mark Cavendish 30 today, so happy birthday to him as well. Just over 75 k's to go. We talked about Contador and Aru. Waiting, of course, I think Sky are probably waiting for the time trial to see what Richie Porte can do there in terms of getting some time back. He's at 3 minutes and 9 seconds now. Poor Rigoberto Urán, he's had a right old horrible start at the Giro, a bit of bronchitis, struggling a little with form as well. He was on the ground yesterday. He managed to get straight back into the peloton. But again, if he was feeling good, you could say something for him to have a go at today. Really interested to see how this develops. A man that you'd tip for trying to do something at the finish will be Enrico Battaglin, and he hails from this region. Or at the start of the stage today with Enrico Battaglin. Enrico. We had a very, very similar arrival last year. Yeah, it's a stage today that's really dear to me because I actually live and I'm from the area where we're riding to. And I want to really try to do well. You're one of the favourites today. Yeah. Everybody knows that I know the roads well. And I think I demonstrated when we're in Fuji that I'm on good form. And it would be absolutely beautiful, brilliant to try and do something today. A word on the last kilometre. It's very, very hard.
Si arriva dalla dorsale di Verici e c'è una curva a sinistra, inizia subito.
Yeah, there's a bit of a left turn. You arrive from the Monte Verici. The last 500 meters are more or less straight. Of course, if anybody goes from too far out, they won't get there. So Enrico Battaglin knows the roads. Today could be well about timing your dart to the finish because of the steep nature of the arrival. You could run out of gas very, very quickly if you go too early. If he gets to the stage hunters fighting this out, the likes of Ulissi at the end, maybe Gilbert, Gerrans, or even that man Battaglin, it's going to be so important to time that dart to the line, isn't it?
Yes, Visconti, of course, another one we can put in there. But Enrico Battaglin, we can see, you know, from his detail there, he knows exactly the finish. That is very important because it is going to be of great importance that you know the run-in very well, and he certainly knows it, you know, like the back of his hand, as they say, and that can be a good thing. And he can do this sort of finish. But you know, the gradient may be a little bit too much for him. It will all depend what way in the final it pans out, and if the general classification men really put the team on the front and make the race very difficult in the final, that's where it's going to get difficult for the likes of Battaglin, Gilbert maybe as well. But yeah, they're in with a chance, and certainly it looks like, you know, we could again have a battle from the front of the peloton. It's going to be not a big peloton because it will definitely blow apart when we start coming into these climbs in the final, because the gradient and the racing the last 50 kilometers, it is going to be fast, and whoever wins the stage, it's going to be, you know, a great stage victory.
Almost two races within a race today. We're watching the general classification, guys, and we're watching the rain start to fall here. Inside 75 kilometers to go. It's been a ridiculously fast finish today. A few of you asking what the weather is at the finish. You saw the brollies go up at the end of our studio segment, and we're just seeing the brollies go up on the road, at the side of the road as well. The weather is changing, and changing quite dramatically as well. It's been forecast all afternoon. Everybody will have had their briefing today. They will have known exactly what was going to happen. A few of the guys putting their rain capes on, getting help to do so. Fabio Aru there in the white jersey, Alberto Contador covering his pink jersey up with the rain cape on at the minute. Being looked after nicely. Richie Porte on the right-hand side as well. And these are our breakaway riders. No time to put rain capes on for these guys. Patrick Gretsch, Enrico Barbin, Davide Apollonio, Kenny Elisson on the right-hand side, the Frenchman in the white and blue. And alongside them, Nicky van der Leke, he's wearing the yellow. Time to go back and get some rain capes. That's Diego Rosa doing his job. And on days like this, Sean, domestics worth their weight in gold, aren't they?
Yes, and surprising that they waited for so long, because we're getting close to the rain. I was expecting a lot of teams to be already back there, the riders get the raincoats and get back to the front, but I don't think it's going to be very fast, and it isn't very fast in the peloton at the moment. We can see they're very much gruppo compacto, which means very grouped together, and as we can see here, they're not under any pressure. There's no panic with the break out front, just over a minute with still 73 plus kilometers to go. And we can see up front as well, the riders, they're riding well together, and there's like Kenny Elliott. If we went to the finish, he's a rider that can finish real well on these sort of steep climbs. A small punchy rider, but again, for the 5 out front, we've played it before, but it looks more like today than any of the past 2 days. It's going to be very difficult to see them holding on.
Yeah, and the advantage has gone down to just a minute as they've started riding in the back. Oh, we've had a couple of riders down at the bottom there. A couple of riders hitting the deck. One looks to be from BMC, another from âdʒiːro Mondial. Just sliding out on that curve there. Number 42 has gone down, Darwin Atapuma, and alongside him it's Carlos Betancourt, who we've seen in the break in the last couple of days. The two Colombians going down. Perhaps they were together having a chat. Not good news. Just sliding out. Is that anything to do, you think, with the weather conditions there, Sean, just changing and getting a little too slippy?
Well, I think some of the riders will say, it's the Colombians once again. But maybe that's correcting the line if one rider just had to correct. And of course, Betancourt yesterday he was down also, we remember, on the same side. So he is just not having a good run. But, if you have to correct your line in the corner with just the road a little bit wet for the moment, you're down so quickly.
And you could just see the dressing on the elbow there of Carlos Betancourt in the breakaway on several occasions in this Giro d'Italia. Two and a half hours in the saddle. And it's raining pretty nastily. A lot of work to get through the cars there for Carlos Betancourt. He had to wait for his own team car, which is way down the back of the convoy. Needed a bike change. 1 minute and 1 for these guys. We were talking about Kenny Elissonde, who's at the back there, right with the blue gilet on. He has managed to go and get a gilet to warm himself up and try and keep dry. I don't think he'll get too much time to stop and zip it up. You can see the average race speed is really high up. It's 46.5. We're still going faster than the fastest time schedule, mostly in part due to that frantic first hour, 53 kilometers. It took 70 k's for the break to go today. 1 minute and 1. Betancourt at the back. We've had the first crash between Atapuma and Betancourt. Happened on the left-hand side. Betancourt just going down on his own. Ouch. Heading into the Veneto, already seen plenty of its riders show very good strength in the opening week and a half now. Nicolas Bohème, one of them. Bohème winning a stage the other day. And of course we're headed to Enrico Battaglin country today. Said that he is one of the favourites, but it's going to be so hard if the general classification teams are getting involved. Lots of teams riding at the front, one of which is Ethics Quickstep. The gap's gone down to 53 seconds, and Sean, at the minute, all indicators are pointing the way of a bit of a GC battle on these climbs.
Well, it is going to be a GC battle, because it looks like it's all going to come back together, and then of course there will be a bit of a battle for GC. If the breakaway was allowed to get 10-12 minutes in advantage and go into the final with 7 or 8 minutes, well then things will be calmer back in peloton. But weather conditions here, very difficult parcours in the end. It's a recipe for a very aggressive race, and the weather will make so many people nervous. We've seen their Betancourt sliding out. The riders will be so concerned, and we ask ourselves the question, why is Ethics Quickstep riding at the moment? Because they're a long ways down in general classification, but maybe they feel that they can do something on this final today. But it's early days yet for a team to be taking it up. I certainly would, try and hold off with a team. 47 seconds, 68 kilometres to go. You would say, well, just, play the waiting game for the moment, see what the other teams want to do, and wait for the final. But, Ethics Quickstep are really turning up the pace here.
Well, are they thinking stage win? Are they thinking of looking about after Rigoberto Urán? Urán is 6th at 2 minutes and 10 at the minute. Maxime Bouet doing a lot of work on the front. Bouet has already done the work on Rigoberto Urán's hair yesterday by giving him the haircut. No more Mick Jagger look. 68 k's to go, headed today to Vicenza Monteberico, home of Campagnolo. Tullio Campagnolo with a great big picture in the Giro road book today, the tourist road book. Talks about how he invented and patented the quick release hub in the 1930s. Of course, a very, very real niche product, I think, Campagnolo. It's sort of the hipsters' gear makers, aren't they?
Yes, and of course the quick release, for some viewers maybe they don't understand, it's before that it was a nut at each side and you had to get a spanner to open it up. Now, as we still have the quick release where you just pull it out and you can get the wheel out so quickly. Yes, one of the great inventions in biking.
Yeah, back in the day when you had to change and remove the wheel to change the gear, he noticed it when he was riding up in the hills and on muddy roads and he was getting stuck and he just couldn't be doing with it. We need to do something, and what a great invention. You can see it certainly, as you said, to most people riding the bikes, they don't think about it anymore.
Yes, and when you're riding uphill, of course, back in those days, and you want to change your wheel and say, oh, I forgot my spanner.
What do you do?
Nothing you can do.
You struggle.
Start walking.
35 seconds, these guys certainly not walking at the minute. It's an interesting combination of factors, isn't it, today? We've got these 5 guys in the break who are still working hard. 3 kilometres for the intermediate sprint. Apollonio, Grech, Elisond, Barbin and Van der Leke. 33 seconds, it seems that their days are almost numbered already. Real hard work. Let's hear from the stage runner last time we're in Vicenza, Visconti.
Avec Giovanni Visconti au départ de cette
So with Giovanni Visconti.
Aujourd'hui,
Giovanni,
normalement,
today
convient parfaitement à vos
it should be something that's pretty perfect for you.
Adatto alle mie caratteristiche.
Yeah, it's something that's quite adept to my characteristics.
Di questo luogo d'arrivo, però sicuramente sarà molto difficile. Noi abbiamo anche
But I think it's going to be really difficult.
Su questi arrivi, quindi forse ci
of
giocheremo
course,
le carte più con
Lobato
lui.
for us is really strong on this type of
Nel caso si
arrivals.
faccia più dura la gara, proverò io.
But of course, if the race is going to be harder, it's going to be me who's going to try.
Ou pour les punchers comme vous.
Today, is it going to be like for the punchers like you or for the real climbers? Well, it really depends how the climbs before the finale are raced today. Yeah, I think that it could be a GC fight as well, so we're going to have to see how it goes and monitor the race. Exactly the way you were reading it, Sean. Could well be GC today, and the way they're riding here, it looks as though it's going to be more GC than anything else.
Well, I think the weather conditions will certainly have a big bearing, and the GC men are going to be, very nervous here, staying to the front with their teams and not to get into any problems, danger, crashes and all of that, stay out of danger as much as possible. And then, of course, in the final climbs, again, we could see some of the GC men having a go. And as Visconti said, you have to wait and see. There's a combination of things here. If the general classification men, want to do something for the overall classification, well, then it's going to be difficult for the likes of Visconti and a number of other riders who could have a chance here. The weather conditions are going to change the whole tactic of the race now. And it looks like that the breakaway is done already with 65 kilometers to go. And Ethics Quick-Step riding, looking at yesterday, Tom Bonan, he finished very well yesterday. He was only 7 minutes and 28 down, so he's coming into form. Maybe they feel that he can do something in the final, but I think is a little bit too steep for the likes of Bonan today.
29 seconds. Val San Zibio along the plains for well over 100 kilometers, and suddenly the hills rise out of nowhere. Veneto region, a real hotbed of cycling, just as Emilia Romagna was. Less than 30 seconds for Grech, Barbin, Elisond, Van der Leke and Davide Apollonio. Talking about Enrico Battaglin, another famous Battaglin comes from this area as well. Giovanni Battaglin, first Venetian rider ever to win the Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta, but no relation between the two. Going back to the 50s. Plenty of stage finishes in Vicenza as well down the years. We talked about Visconti winning 2 years ago, and a different finish from this as we have the first attack from the breakaway. Nicky van der Leke decides that the gap is going way too small, and given the fact that Lotto and El Jumbo have nothing to do with the overall general classification, it's worth a try, isn't it?
Yes, and I think we're coming to this in sprint as well, so there's something up for grabs here before they get swallowed up, of course, after making a big effort to get into the break, then riding for so far out in front, get something out of the day.
Well, Van der Leijken was there looking for the points and the seconds. Van der Leijken at 1 hour 56 minutes and 29 seconds. So it's not the 3 bonuses he's that bothered about. Second in that sprint, Enrico Barbin. Apollonia up there as well. Or is Apollonia just beaten to the line? He may well have done. Photo finish for second place there on the line. Elisond, you can tell who's the climber in that group, can't you, Sean?
Yes, and we've seen him there before the sprint ever took up and they went up their pace. He's been out of the saddle a lot on the flat, trying to stay with these guys, because we did see they're going at a real fast rate here, but still the time is coming down, the advantage is coming down. That tells how fast Ethics Quickstep are riding up front, because the gap is dropping off very quickly.
The gap is almost disappearing, and here we go. More riders looking for those points. Intermediate sprint, you could see Viviani on the left-hand side having a little go. Points classification's really tight at the minute. Nicolas Bohème still in the red jersey. Viviani just gaining a bit of points yesterday, second at the moment. This is what remains of the break. 24 seconds on the Maglia Rosa group. 63 Ks to go. And we're coming to the funhouse part of today's stage. Climbs to come. Plenty of action in the GC, we think, as well, right after this break. Fun and games is about to begin. 62 kilometres remain. Nothing hardly remains of the break. We've seen a couple of riders flatting. We've seen, looks as though Pirazzi's either had a mechanical or a bit of a spill. Onto some hairpins. 128 kilometres ridden today, and we're heading up to Castelnuovo. First categorised climb of the day. Simon Geschke at the minute is in the blue jersey. Leads by just a handful of points, in fact, just 2 points ahead. I should say, in he's in the jersey, leads Simon Geschke by just 2 points. Kruijswijk in third at 43, thanks to all the breaks he's been in. Problem as well for one of the Trek Factory Racing riders. Trek at the minute, last on the team classification. Not so far away from Castelnuovo. We've had the 2 intermediate sprints today now. And it looks as though the break is coming to an end. Just 3 of them ready. Van der Leijken on the left-hand side in the yellow. That's Apollonio coming through the centre now with the aero helmet on for Gianni Savio's Androni team. And right at the back you have Patrick Gretsch, already rain-coated up. In the meantime, this is an interesting moment of control, or lack of control here, Sean, for the peloton. A lot of people watching others right now.
Yes, well, we could see a lot of the general classification teams coming to the front with their leaders, and it's not surprising because we did see the aerial shot there. Very, very dangerous. You know, the hairpins downhill, the wet roads, and we're out of that section now, so there's a bit of a slope, and you know, our 3 riders are going to be allowed to hang out for a bit longer. But I think all very nervous. You can see and you can feel it there, the nervousness in the group. They just wanted to get down that little descent and stay out of danger, or the general classification men.
Think we're going to see any attacks from some of the smaller teams here, and the GC guys will be quite happy about that?
Well, I think it's an opportunity now as we get closer to pulling in the rest of the breakaway, the final 3 men. There will be some teams who will try something. If there's a downtime here, which there is at the moment, and if you get that, there's definitely teams who are going to try it.
The umpteenth fountain that's been dyed pink around our lap of Italy so far. We're at Torreglia, and Torreglia is where the first few sprints start now. It's an interesting way of going around the left-hand side there. Chose to go through the barrier and on the left. Not quite sure where he's going because he's got a couple of marquees to get through. Might have to wait until the next round. Oh, there we go, it rejoins the road again. Surely he must know the road. Might have been Fabio Fellini. Somebody was attempting perhaps to get a little further up in the peloton. Tinkoff Saxo at the front. Sky with them as well. Ethics Quickstep for the minute, just easing off the pace. Interesting scene as they've been the team that have done most of the work to bring this back already.
Yes, it was a very interesting one. They set a very fast pace to close down almost on the breakaway, and now they're off the front, as we can see again this picture where he reckons he's taking the shock, or he must know the area because he goes through the spectators here, but I don't think there was any gain here.
I thought he was looking for the team bus or something down here at the bottom. I thought he was ready to climb off. Strange, he sort of made the two people with the umbrellas move out his way. Goodness knows how he thought it was quicker. By the way, in terms of DNFs, we've had one already today. Manuel Belletti, the fast man from South East, has climbed off his bike. That's the second man in that team to be DNF, did not finish the stage. So Ramon Carretera, the man from Panama, I think it is, earlier on in the Giro, climbed off very, very early on the second stage. Belletti joins him today, and South East are down now to 7 men. Left at the front of the race, Apollonia in the blue and white. In the yellow and white with the black shorts, you can see Van der Leke, and behind them in the rain jacket, it's Germany's Patrick Gretsch. I don't think they've got long to go out there. Pace certainly a little quicker from those behind. Cars have already been removed, and we're just waiting for the next big move in this race to see what sort of shape it takes as we head into the hills. This is ๊dʒiːro. And we all know that Orica Green Edge have been trying to do something. We joined their bus meeting on Giro Extra before the stage. We've seen a few mechanicals, in fact a crash. From former riders from South East, just checking everything's okay. One of the Italian television cameras staying with him. That rider was Francesco Gavazzi. Gavazzi, the man from South East, looking like he's going to get a bike change, in fact. Or was it not just a front wheel in the end? And there's that quick release system we were talking about. Gavazzi to change his bike. He's another guy who likes this sort of finish. 3 Giro d'Italias, 1 stage at the Vuelta, 12 professional victories. He had some half-decent form at the start of the year. Getting a bit of help from his South East director sportif there. Patrick Gretsch. Has somebody gone ahead of him, or is this his own attempt to stay out the front? Well, that graphic tells us he's the only man out there. Xu Gang there, the Chinese rider for Lampre, dropped. Time to go and hear, though, from Orica Green Edge and Michael Matthews.
With Michael Matthews at the start. Michael, this morning, on all the lips, we can read one name. Michael Matthews. You're the big favorite for today. Is it good for you? You like that? Or?
Yeah, I think this is a stage that really suits me, and I was really motivated for this stage. But yeah, the team's decided to go for Simon Gerrans, so yeah, I'll do my best to support him. And yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
Did you have a recon, or the manager had a recon of the finish?
We've seen it on the Google Maps, but yeah, we haven't actually seen in real life, so I think it's going to be a little bit different to what we're expecting. But yeah, I think it's a really good stage that suits me really well, but yeah, it's the way it goes.
Okay, thank you very much, and good luck. Thank you.
Refreshing honesty there from Michael Matthews, but you could tell that there's a little bit of needle. He was unhappy that the team selected somebody else as their main man for today. Having looked at the finish, Sean, as we see Patrick Gretsch about to be swallowed up by the peloton, do you think it's more of a Gerrans or more of a Matthews finish?
I think it's more of a Gerrans finish.
Right decision then?
Yes, I think if you look at Gerrans, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, those sort of races, he can really finish off well there. I think for Matthews, it's probably a bit too steep here today. Yesterday was the perfect opportunity, the perfect occasion, but unfortunately it didn't work out and they weren't there to pull back that break. Yeah, it's going to be a spectacular final because it's not really as important in the end. Maybe knowing all the run in, because they're not going to be as many riders, but still I think we can see a group of maybe 30 or 40 riders, depending how they race from here on. If the big teams really push on, well then this group will just melt down very quickly.
Patrick Gretsch on to the Castelnuovo climb. Such vital statistics there. Former junior world time trial champion as well, Patrick Gretsch. Good strong rider for ʻdʒiːro. He's a former teammate of Mark Cavendish, of course. This is the peloton. Krishil Jensen taking it up at the front. Ziglioli it is who's going to launch an attack here for Androni. Gianfranco Ziglioli, one of the young riders in this Giro d'Italia. Looks to try and bridge the gap to Patrick Grech. Interesting to see what happens here. Of course, there are King of the Mountains points on offer in this final part of the stage. You've got one man up the road. Is this the time, Sean, when other people will be thinking, can we go and join them?
Well, I think there will other teams get orders from the director sportive, saying you have to, try and get up the road here. This is the opportunity, and hard to know how fast they're going here. We can see it's Tinkoff Saxo setting the pace on the front, but again, there's always riders who are going to try and get out of this group. With 57 kilometers to go, it's going to be a big ask for any group to be able to form out front and hold off and pull an advantage out now, because we're into the real difficult terrain.
What do you think Tinkoff Saxo want to do today here? Are they happy to see this man up the road, or are they going to just carry on with this nice strong rhythm?
I think for the moment, continue with a good rhythm, take control of the front of the bunch. That way you're up there, you have control for the descents, which is more important. I think that's what they will be thinking about. And then of course in the final, the final up to the finish, if there's an opportunity. We did see Contador yesterday, he just gave a little bit of an indicator he's feeling better, and today there's an opportunity there, certainly, if you're real good, to pull a number of seconds from the other bigger favourites.
Southeast with a couple of riders up to left hand side. Betancourt back in this group now. He's another man who you wouldn't bet against having a little go. Wonder how he's feeling after his crash. This in the meantime is Ugo Ulla, the young Canadian rider. Ziglioli then, 25 years of age, 10 seconds on the Maglia Rosa group. Just one win in his career, and that was at the Gran Premio Industria and Commercio di Prato. That's down in Tuscany. Second year as a professional. Did his time as a stagiaire towards the end of the 2013 season at Androni, and been with the same team ever since. By the way, this is his first Giro d'Italia. Big moment for him here. Time to get his face on television, and most importantly, as we know, the attitude of the bosses at the team. It's more important to get the jersey on television in the Giro d'Italia. Katusha on the right-hand side. Luca Paolini's there. A man to watch today. Of course, he was on the deck very early on. I think it was just the 3rd kilometre yesterday during the race where he fell. Getting quite a bit of treatment, as we saw as we came to air. Still an hour or two into the race on the leg. Lost half of his shorts as well. Yesterday, though, a big day for Katusha, big day for Ilnur Zakarin. Zakarin now 25, and a 20th win already of the season for Katusha. They've been in stunning form in the last couple of months. This is the back of the group. Get distance today. It's a pretty nasty day to be out there on your own. But if the racing does kick off as we expect here, we're going to see another attack right now. Another attack right now from Lotto Soudal. Louis Vervaeke, very, very promising young Belgian rider. Vervaeke, who is down to go to the European Games. Down to go to the European Games, the first ever European Games in Baku, with none other than Tom Bonen in the team for Belgium. Very, very interesting selection. Interesting to see how many nations actually take the race and the first European Games seriously. Vervaeke off the front. Tinkoff Saxo not minding at the minute, Sean.
No, they're continuing on to set their pace and not concerned about the attacks out of the front, as we can see more riders, wanting to go. And when you have 1, 2, then there's going to be a 3rd one, a 4th one, and the riders will be getting orders from Director Sportive. Be careful, don't allow too many riders to get away, because it could form a break out front.
Ziglioli's there. Vervaeke is trying to join in. It looks as though there was an ʻdʒiːro rider joining the attack as well. That attack possibly from Carlos Betancourt. We will wait and see. This is Gianfranco Ziglioli in the meantime. Best result overall in a decent race was 8th overall at the Tour of Langkawi last year, so he showed he can climb. Now here comes Beñat Incausti in the blue jersey. He wants the points for that defence of the King of the Mountains. I can guess that's going to be Szymon Geschke as well. Let's have a look. It is Szymon Geschke. He wants the jersey. Just 2 points behind Beñat-Chalsti. Betancourt is there as well. So this is one for the points. Geschke already stating his intention to go for the mountains classification at the Giro d'Italia. Betancourt has done the same. Remember, it was a Colombian who won it last year with the man from Trek Factory Racing. Juliana Redondo it was who wore the mountains classification on the final podium in Trieste. Big one there, 3 points for Szymon Geschke. At the minute, he's the virtual maglia azzurra, the virtual blue jersey on the road, depending on what happens here. Well, no. 1 point behind as Beñat-Chalsti goes to claim second place. Pace is on, though, by the way, behind here. You can see that. Tinkoff Saxo just making sure they're putting in the right paces. Aru makes sure he's close to the front as well. At the minute, Alberto Contador is that bit much more difficult to spot. Meantime, problems for yesterday's stage winner Ilnur Zakarin. Front wheel for him. Contador a little more difficult to spot because he's got a rain jacket over that maglia rosa. Zakarin had his good day yesterday. Just under 55 k's to go. First of our 3 classified climbs done and dusted. Beautiful switchbacks. No high climbs in this part of the world. Beautiful to look from the air, not so beautiful if you're on your bike, Sean. We've just seen Louis Vervaeke, whilst you were away at the break, having a real problem in keeping his line everywhere.
Yes, well, he is pushing on the descent, and it's not nice at all when you're out on the bike, and especially if you're not confident in the wet conditions. And some riders, you know, they can get down quite well, but others, they are very nervous. And if you're a little bit nervous in wet conditions, not nice here at all.
That's going to kill his confidence as well, isn't it?
Well, if he is a good descender, I think he's descending quite well. He doesn't seem to be, you know, backing off too much. He's, you know, pushing on here on the descent, so he's able to get down to the descent. So I don't think he's the one who is, you know, suffering the most here.
.52 k's to go. Louis Vervaeke giving it a go. He's been nervous on the way down. He's tried to take a few risks, but almost coming a cropper. In the meantime, lots of switchbacks, back of the peloton losing touch. Whilst we've been away at the break, we've seen that there's a huge gruppetto forming as well. Selections happening, even away from the pitches. The weather's doing a lot of the selecting as well, I think, as well as the rhythm of the race. Alberto Contador in this bunch. He's in the pink jersey, but he's got a rain jacket on at the minute. See the pink helmet there, third wheel. Good presence from the Tinkoff team. We saw Fabio Aru trying to stick close to him. A lot of Venetian riders in the Giro this year. A lot of them will know these roads well. One man who's not here is Pippo Pozzato, not selected. Lample Merida leaving him at home. I wonder if he's going to ride the Tour de France. There's cobbles at the start of it this year. Needs a new contract for next year, though. I'm sure he'll be on the side of the road somewhere. Either that or with his feet up at home in Monaco, watching the race. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Sonny Colbrelli with a back wheel change. Shown with the way the rhythm is, it's not going to be easy to get back on. Certainly the Bardiani car's way back down in the convoy as well.
No, it's not going to be easy to get back on. In the wet conditions, it's always much more difficult to get back. And, you know, the way the race is going at the moment, Tinkoff is pushing on the front. You know, it's going to take a big effort. If you can ever get back on here, you know, and the riders, you know, who really maybe are not fighting for something in general classification, or unless you're one of the big favourites, well then, you know, you're on your own, and we can see here, get into the cars. Some riders can, you know, ride real well behind the cars in the wet conditions, but if you cannot do that, if you're a little bit nervous in the conditions we're having at the moment, well then, very difficult to get back into the front of the race.
First classified climb out of the way. The next classified climb is the hardest of the day, without a doubt. There are a couple of little lumps and bumps to go before then, though. We'll get to Mossano, and then up to Crosara. This is Teolo in the meantime. The road does rise again here, ever so briefly. Another little rise whilst we descend down to Bastia as well. I'm not talking about the capital of Corsica. Teolo Quite a small little place. Still plenty of people, just illustrating how big cycling is in the Veneto region. Braving the weather, preferring to watch it on the side of the road rather than the comfort of their own home. Very, very green. We were blessed with beautiful weather at the start of the Giro, but the way it's been cooking up the last couple of days aided to the sort of profiles we've got in the final week. It could quickly turn into a real hellish Giro for everybody again with the weather, couldn't it?
Well, hopefully we don't have this weather conditions when we get into the mountain stages, because then it will, be once again one of these Giros where the conditions are, treacherous in the mountain, in the high mountains, and then it turns, of course, to very, very cold, sleet. Not nice at all, as we can see Contador here just getting off his rain jacket. Ready
for action, the Maglia Rosa to show off to the world. Leader of the race, he looked strong yesterday, looked recovered as Zilioli is trying to chase down Louis Vervaeke. 15 seconds from Vervaeke to the pink jersey group, Zilioli, who'd been left in the middle of those two. So hard to get away with the pace heating up behind. Vervaeke on the left-hand side, riding for Lotto Soudal. A team that was built around Jeroen van den Broek at this Giro d'Italia, but he's been 3 minutes and 33 seconds behind. They also have Maxime Monfort in 17th place overall at 4 minutes. Andre Greipel won a stage, takes a little bit of the pressure off. Tomorrow the pressure will be very much on, though, for Lotto Soudal. It's a day when the whole team will be expected to work for Andre Greipel, big favourite in what is a pan-flat stage. Not even a token climb in to give the jersey of the King of the Mountains leader any time. 40 seconds now, the official count back for Louis Vervaeke. Into the northeast of Italy, into the Veneto. We're heading to Vicenza today, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Lots of things to do off the bike as well, the likes of Villa Capra with lots of Renaissance art, Venetian period of between the year 400 and 800. Villa Capra housing all that art, and it was built in the 1500s. Are we going to see the artists of the big GC stars having a go on the final climb, or is it going to be those hard workers, the artisan, who are going to bust their way up for a stage win? All the evidence at the minute pointing towards a bit of a battle between Astana, Tinkoff Saxo, maybe even Ethics Quickstep, who were riding very, very early on the front. And what about Richie Port and Sky? What will they do? Number 172 with his hand up is Maxim Belkov. Mechanical problem for him. He's going to need a wheel change. Trying his best to ride on. This is what you were saying as well, Sean. You see a lot of riders just racing on and stopping at the side when perhaps they could carry on a little and reduce a bit of the problem and getting back to the cars. You can ride for a while on a flat tyre, although in these conditions on the descent it's very, very hard. Yes, it is more difficult on the descent, of course, but you can roll along at a slow pace. On the flat you can go along at a nice pace and just continue until the team car arrives. And sometimes we see riders, the very moment they have a flat tyre, they just pull over, stop, and that's not it's not the best way to do it, because you're losing seconds there all the time. You're getting further back from the main peloton or the group you're in, so best to continue. And the riders know how to ride, they know what pace they can go, what speed they can go on a flat tyre, so just continue. But on the descent in wet, it is a difficult one to do. You have to knock your speed off quite a lot. Guys knocking their speed off a lot, trying to stay upright on the bikes at the minute. Jonis Aguirre, the Spanish champion, as Belkov is just getting that wheel change. 2 hours, 1 minute and 56, Maxime Belkov, a former Giro d'Italia stage winner. I'm sure we'll see him in one of the breakaways on the hilly days towards the end. He's such a strong rider. Belkov, who actually took both the mountains and the sprints jerseys at the recent Tour de Romandie. Pace is on here, it's strong out. Astana just behind on the wheels of Richie Porte. They've got 5 riders around Fabio Aru. Looked as though Paolo Tiralongo, who is the road captain in the team, the man with the job of implementing the tactic of telling Fabio Aru where to be, looking after him. It's another interesting battle on the bike as well, isn't it? Likes of Ivan Basso versus Paolo Tiralongo, the men who are looking after the stars like Contador and Aru, and it's a battle of the minds on the bike, isn't it?
Well, it's important that you have a good domestique that has a lot of experience, and the two you've mentioned, Basso, a lot of experience, Tiralongo also, and at times when you're coming to a section where it can be a little bit dangerous, maybe there's a descent coming up, if you have read the route manual very well, those guys, the experience can be very important to position yourself in the right place for the downhills. And especially today, these wet conditions, dry conditions here, it would be much more relaxed. You would not be as nervous. The teams of the general classification men would be much more relaxed, but here everybody is just tense here because of these conditions.
Zilioli chasing down, or attempting to chase down, Louis Vervaeke, the 21-year-old from Belgium. Had some superb results last year as an amateur still. He won the Ronde de l'Isère and the Tour des Pays de Savoie in France. First year professional, and of course riding the Giro and the Vuelta, already down for both Grand Tours. They think a lot of him. He leads the race by around 40 seconds at the moment, with 45 kilometers to go.
In association with the Israel Ministry of Tourism.
It's that miserable that even the motorbikes are having mechanicals. Just trying to sort whatever is wrong with that thing out on the course at the minute while all the race and the team cars go past. This is the leader at the minute, and his difference is 42 seconds back to the pink jersey group, 17 seconds back to Zilioli, who's catching ever so slightly, and Louis Vervaeke, who won a stage of the Tour de l'Avenir last year as well, all the way to La Toussuire. Knows he can climb, he showed he can climb there. He beat some big names on that day. He's here as a pro, trying to do it on the Giro d'Italia. Likes of Campbell Flakemore were in the peloton that day. Theo Gegenhardt, who's yet to turn professional at a top-level team. Zilioli trying to chase down the Tour de l'Avenir stage winner from last year, Louis Vervaeke. Zilioli, a young man himself. Gradual progression. Now 25. Vervaeke, an absolute young superstar, 21. Rather like Stefan Kung, who we saw on the attack yesterday. 4 riders with Alberto Contador in the pink. Taking it up at the front. 3 riders with Richie Porte. Kirienko, one of them, second wheel. Shitsov is there as well, as another man comes to join in. Mikel Nieve there on the right-hand side. Fabio Aru has his men as well. And this is the profile of the leader on the road at the minute, the Belgian, born in 1993, just 21. 2 wins in 2014. Of course, he's now turned professional this year. The late Frank van den Broek was his hero. Giving it his all, being brave as well, Sean, with this weather at the minute.
Yes, he's really doing well and been very brave on the descents, but unfortunately still with over 40 kilometers to go out in front there, and if you had good conditions I think we could see a little bit of downtime back in peloton, but the problem is we can see Saxo Tinkoff setting the pace, and the reason being the wet conditions. They want to keep control, they want to keep out in front with Alberto Contador, and for that reason it's going to be hard for those guys to pull out enough an advantage to go on for stage victory.
What's left here, Sean? We've got Crosara next. Crosara, the hard climb of the day. It's a 3rd category climb, but a little misleading because it is really difficult with sections up at 17%.
Yes, it's going to be a very difficult one. It's going to be real nervous to get onto the Crosara because of that steep conditions, the wet roads. You know, you're always concerned that somebody lose momentum a bit, lose traction and start having difficulty, because 17% it's a major gradient, and you know, 3.8 kilometers the climb in total roughly, and you know, at that point as well, you know, you're getting into the very final. Then you have the descent. It's going to be real important because of the weather once again. So it's really, you know, important times, very, very important end of the stage here, and we can see, you know, the team of the race leader, Contador. We can see Aru is very much up there. We can see Sky with Richie Porte very much at the front as well. All the general classification and the main men, you know, a number of teams, a number of riders from their teams up front.
40 k's to go. Zilioli at 28 seconds. We're not getting consistent time checks for some reason all the way back to the peloton from Louis Vervaeke. It was around 42 seconds the last time we checked. There he is, the man in red from Belgium. And I know that they really, really rate this guy back in Belgium. A lot of people talking about him when we were over there for the Classics this year. The fact that he's just gone professional as well, and the fact that he's already been selected by Belgium for that European Games tilt, with Tom Bonen in the squad as well. Here's Zilioli. Not a good day to have the white patches on the shorts, is it? Horrible out there. Certainly is a black shorts day. As many of you out there will say every day should be a black shorts day, but that's a discussion for another one. 40 k's to go. Zilioli looks like he's losing ground at the minute. Big strong ride from a strong man here. Neopro in Belgium, so much written about him already, as we can see Zilioli about to be taken back in by the peloton. We'll confirm that it's around 40 seconds, maybe still the advantage to Vervaeke. And of course, in Belgium more than in many other countries, if you're talked up as a young star, it can make life so difficult for you, can't it?
Well, it's always been the case in Belgium, you know, once the rider starts being real good in the amateur ranks, and then they start talking him up, and we've seen a lot of riders have suffered because of that, and you know, did not get the time maybe to develop in their 40 years professional. Very important that you can get a couple of years maybe under your belt, that there's not that press pressure, and you know, there's so many Belgians have had that because the way they perform coming in before they come to be professional.
Cycling a religion in Belgium, certainly in Flanders. Tosato working really, really hard here for Tinkoff Saxo. Putting the pace on, shedding this group, I'm sure already. We've seen a huge, huge gruppetto already developing. The fight is to get into the right position for the climb right now. The next climb on the road is Crosada. Crosada is going to be pretty horrific. 3.8 kilometers long. Central section has an average of 12.7% and a maximum of 17%. Rovni helping out Tosato in the meantime for Tinkoff Saxo. Astana on the wheels. Just see how difficult it is to keep up with the wheels in the peloton. Little gaps just about everywhere. Really strong out now. It's been that way all day.
It's been that way every day.
It's funny, since we turned up to the Giro, we keep wondering, well, will today be the, in inverted commas, boring day? Will today be the down day? Even when we've had a couple of supposed sprint days, we've had surprises, we've had things happening, and tomorrow it should be the nailed-on day for the sprint, but you just never know with how it's going.
Well, I don't think we're going to see an easy day in this Giro the way it's been going, and today was, you know, an opportunity, a day you would expect it will be very easy, because in the flat part of 125 plus kilometers to the first climbs, the breakaway would get away, and of course, you know, they'd allow the breakaway, that the riders would be in no danger whatsoever in general. They'd build up a lead of 12-14 minutes. Wasn't the case today, and hasn't been the case in this Giro, and it's just amazing. Every day they're racing so aggressively, and I think for the final week, when you look at the route and the parcours, a very difficult final week. There's a lot of riders will pay big price for the very aggressive racing we're having right from the start of this one.
You see Vicodin paying the price and being distanced there already as well, the Finnish champion. Riders one by one dropping off the back today. And this week was supposed to be the quiet week, wasn't it? After the crazy start and then the ridiculously hard final week, we were supposed to have 4 very relaxed days before we got to the main menu at the weekend with the time trial in Madonna di Campiglio.
Well, when you look at the route manual and you know, you would write the script for the race, you would say this week would be an easy week because the general classification men would be, you know, in their positions. The time trial coming up at the weekend, they would be thinking of that, but no, it hasn't happened at all. You know, the flat stages have been so aggressive, no easy day at all in this race so far.
Cycling always surprises us, that's why we love it. 37 Ks to go. All right, Ponte di Nanto, not far away now to the Grossara. 35 Ks to go, 19 seconds for Louis Vervaeke. Cars being pulled out the gap. Tosato is doing a right old turn behind. He and Ivan Rovny working really, really hard to pull this back at the minute. Tinkoff want the control here. They have 7 men in the front group. Astana have the whole team for Fabio Aru. Whole 9 riders together in the front group. A couple of them admittedly towards the back of it, but around 50 riders left. It's looking really, really strong. BMC sending a couple of men to the front. Tosato still there. Those who haven't done the work yet for Tinkoff, 17 seconds behind, are getting rid of those rain jackets, getting rid of the arm warmers and getting ready for action. Whilst you've been away, Zilioli has punctured. Louis Vervaeke, and an advantage that was around 42 seconds has gone down to 15. The neutral service cars have been pulled out of the gap. Matteo Tosato sharing turns with Ivan Rovny, the Italian and the Russian, 2 big rouleurs for this terrain, doing a great job. And Sean, we're down to about 50 riders in the main group.
And not surprising because the way they've been racing here, and Tinkoff, Saxo really, you know, up in the pace here. We can see Tosato just, you know, doing a big pull on the front. They're really racing very aggressively. I'm surprised they're pushing it on so fast at the moment. I think they're trying to make the race difficult. I think there's something more. They think they have a tactic to try and do something again with Contador.
Philippe Serrière from Eurosport saying that the favourite mover, Louis Vervaeke, catch me if you can. Is that a premonition? Maybe he was just laying down the gauntlet to Tinkoff Saxo. They've accepted the challenge. Another hashtag for you. Challenge accepted. 11 seconds behind. And you can see 33.5 Ks to go. As Sean was saying, it looks as though Contador is feeling good today. I wouldn't be crossing the road there because Vervaeke going at quite a rate. And they're going at a faster rate behind. Rovny taking it up. Contador ready, second wheel. Pink jersey. Astana losing the wheels behind, not together as a team. And Fabio Aru's got to want to have men around him when we get onto this climb, isn't he?
Well, all the general classification men are going to need domestics around them. I think there's not a problem here at the moment because we can see the big general classification men all have got a number of riders here, although Astana, they have, you know, as I said, the full team here, but there's a few of them hanging on the very rear here, and you know, somebody back in this position is not going to be able to do anything for the team. But Tinkoff, you know, they're not holding back. You would, with Vervaeke out front, they could allow him to take, you know, a minute and a half at this point and no problem at all. But they're really pushing it on faster than you would expect the team of race leader to be doing at this point. And they have been doing it for the last 10-15 kilometres, a long ways out from the climb.
Right at the start of this next climb, as we saw that man just dicing a little with his luck. But right at the start of the next climb, there's a sign. Somebody's painted a sign that says, "Welcome to Purgatory." 17%, it's hard. The rhythm is hard, as you can see. Tinkoff Saxo have a plan for today, and they're trying to execute it to first bring back Louis Vervaeke, and then do something for their leader. Strong out at the front. Astana with a couple of bodies behind. The man furthest to the back was Diego Rosa, just 8 seconds now for Louis Vervaeke. Attack that he'll be learning quite a lot from. The first time he's been off the front in a Grand Tour. He's down to ride 2 this year. Przemysław Niemiec at the back, who's supposed to be the leader of Lamprimerida. just struggling to hold the wheels. He's at 29 minutes and 28 seconds. GC's been a bit of a disaster for Lampre, although they've won a couple of stages already.
Yes, well, he's not having a good tour at all. He's a long ways down. He's not in the position that we would be expecting him to be in at this point in general classification. And we can see there, he's just fighting to try and hold in this group of big favourites. That tells, for a rider like of that standard, of that class, he should not be there, and the form hasn't been good in this Giro.
Well, alongside Sylvester Schmid, Przemysław Niemiec has been one of the big Polish climbers of the last few years. Przemysław Niemiec off the back and struggling. This is Tosato off the front and working. Ovni second wheel just behind them, Mick Rogers as well. Contador is there with Basso too. All building up to a very fast finish, and another fast finish on Eurosport. Patrick Gretsch back at the front, just removing his rain cape there. Behind him is Carlos Betancourt. Carlos Betancourt can perhaps smell stage win towards the end today, but it's going to be really hard. He's going to have to show that he has the form. 3.5 hours of racing, just 31 kilometers remain, and we're already faster than the fastest time schedule today. Fastest time schedule had us finishing on the hour at 5 o'clock local time, 4 p.m. if you're watching on British Eurosport. This is going to be another really fast one. And here we are, Crozara, all the way up to just under 400 metres, average slope at just under 10%, a maximum slope of 17%. This is going to be really hard. Are we going to see moves here, Sean? Or are we just going to see the peloton again reducing until we've got a select group back?
I don't think we will see anything from the big favourites. Possibly the riders who want to do something in the stage will feel that they can get a stage victory out of it, because at the top of this one we're still quite Crozara 26.9 from the finish, so I think it's a bit too far out. I think the general classification, man, I would be very surprised if we see any great movement from them until this final run into the finish, where it's a very steep one and there you can take a couple of seconds, but otherwise I think it's all going to be, if there's going to be action, it's going to be somebody having a go for stage victories.
One man who isn't going to get a stage victory is Louis de Vervaeke. Orica Green Edge take up their signal to move to the front of the group with this climb approaching. They had a plan for today and it looks as though they're ready to put it together. Simon Gerrans is the man that they're working for. Michael Matthews today is domestique. Ivan Basso to take it up in the meantime as Louis de Vervaeke's taken in, and we're all back together on the penultimate climb of the day. Moving into the Colli Berici area of Vicenza. Today we will finish on Monte Berico. Not much left of the group at the front. Less than 50 riders now. Tinkoff Saxo just brought the brake back. They're working there. And at the minute, there's a bit of an impasse. Tinkoff Saxo working, Orica Green Edge coming to join them. Patrick Gretsch is there for Carlos Betancourt. If Gretsch is there at the front, we can expect an attack from Betancourt, can't we?
Well, I think he's going to stay here in the front end of the peloton, in the top 10 or 15 riders. I think if there's other attacks, we could see Betancourt trying to, just go on with the attacks if riders are going off the front.
Goodbye Luca Paolini, who's just being dropped there. Lots of riders off the back here. 96 is Przemysław Niemiec. It's Ivan Basso in the yellow on the front. On the right hand side you can see Paolo Tiralongo coming alongside him. Tiralongo versus Basso in that top domestique and road captain position. Saying Mick Rogers is really important for Alberto Contador as well, but it is certainly Tiralongo who is calling the shots on the road in Astana colours. Abuaru wearing the white jersey. A better view of them here. Schmidt on the right hand side for CCC. That's good welcoming news for the Poles after we've just seen Niemiec down at the back. BMC wanting to show their presence as well, remember. Could be a Gilbert day at the end. Richie Porte being brought to the front on the left hand side in the black by Vasil Kirienka. Important for Porte to show that he's still up there with the best today, Sean.
Yes, well, he's very much at the front here, and we can see he's not prepared and doesn't want to follow Kirienka, who's pushing on the pace here and taking 10-15 metres of an advantage from the peloton. Porte just follows the wheel to the front of the group and then allows his teammate to roll off a little bit further.
Lars Ytting back dropped alongside Stig Brooks for Lotto Soudal, the two men in the red. They've got a really important day coming up tomorrow for Andre Greipel. Could be the last day we see a lot of the sprinters in the race tomorrow. Even the likes of Gerrans and Matthews rumoured to possibly be leaving the Giro d'Italia before the time trial. This is Vasil Kirienko, the Belarusian rider for Team Sky, the British team. Behind you can see Paolo Tiralongo, winner of stage 9. Mick Rogers on the left-hand side for Alberto Contador. The man at the front for BMC Racing is Damiano Caruso, who's actually the best placed rider in that team at 2 minutes and 20 from the man in pink there, Alberto Contador. And the number 42 is Darwin Atapuma, Colombian rider, 3 minutes and 10. 13.2%. The minute, no big moves here, Sean, but I think we're going to be losing riders and the group is going to be that much smaller by the time we get to the top.
Yes, well, we're certainly losing riders off the rear here. You know, we can see anytime we have a picture of the rear of the peloton, that riders dropping off. And, you know, the pace is quite high. Kirienko, like, he's just powering up this climb. It's amazing when he's on a good day. He is so powerful. To be able to look around here when you have, you know, 13% and look around to see what's happening, it tells that, you know, he's really feeling good at the moment.
Fabio Aru on the left-hand side. A look around from Contador at where he is. Aru second at 3 seconds from the pink jersey, Alberto Contador. Really interesting for Contador, Sean. Ivan Basso hasn't lasted that long on a lot of the climbs we've seen in this Giro d'Italia. Is that a worry for him before we get to the big mountains?
Well, we've seen that the days where there's been a bit difficult at the final. Again, Basso yesterday, he lost contact and finished a long way down. You would expect Basso to be able to be, you know, stay with Contador all the way yesterday. So certainly for Tinkoff, you know, they have a little bit of difficulty, but Contador, when he gets into the final climb, if he gets to that, well then, you know, he's able to control the situation even on his own. But it's always comfortable when you have a teammate or two with you, because if you have a mechanical problem, it's always very important. It gives you that little bit more comfort when you look around and you see you have 1-2 teammates with you.
The two teammates that remain around Alberto Contador are Roman Kreuziger, the Czech rider, and of course the Australian Mick Rogers, who's in front of him, the former world time trial champion. This is Contador. Yesterday, I think, demonstrated that he's feeling better from that dislocated shoulder. Looks good on the bike again, looks comfortable, looked very happy when he attacked. Interesting to see if the likes of Aru can put him under pressure to the end. Aru reportedly wants to take the jersey before the time trial. Amador and Visconti still up the front. Two men who are still in the top 10, remember, for Movistar, are having a great Giro with the Mountains jersey at the minute on the back of Beñat and Inchausti. Stage win, of course, as well for Inchausti. Amador's family, by the way, are on their way over from Costa Rica as I speak right now. Man who could do a good time trial as well on Saturday. Certainly don't think that he's going to be anywhere in terms of the podium at this Giro d'Italia. He's not that sort of rider, but he's having a fantastic week in the top 10 so far. Fabio Aru. Will he be worried about what happened yesterday, Sean, Fabio Aru, losing the wheel to Contador?
No, I don't think he'll be really concerned. You know, he... in the end, maybe he was a little bit, suffered a little bit, but at that point, you know, very late in the race, the wet conditions are kind of more of effect. And I think on Aru, you know, he's a very lean rider. I think the wet conditions, it certainly doesn't, he doesn't support it as well as a Contador. Maybe not eating as much as well. It can be just getting a little bit of a hunger knock in the end. It's early days to say that there's, you know, a crack in Aru at the moment.
The next few days are going to tell us a lot about this Giro d'Italia. 6.5% ramps towards the end of this climb. Mick Rogers at the front, Alberto Contador behind, 28.9 kilometres to go, and all the main GC protagonists are right at the front of this Giro d'Italia. It's a stage where we weren't quite sure what was going to happen. Was it going to be a stage for those medium mountain guys, the guys who can sprint after some hard racing? Or is it going to be a stage where GC differences will be made on that final steep ramp in the last kilometre? Remember, bonus seconds important. Could Contador or Aru be thinking of that? Sylvester Schmidt just losing the wheels. The rider in Nipovini Fantini colours is Pier Paolo De Negri. Pardon me, that's Maciej Paterski, as Schmidt is still in the group. Nate Brown towards the back as well. There is Schmidt in the orange in this group. Aru has 3 men around him. And here goes ʻdʒiːro. He wants the mountains points. ʻdʒiːro hanging on. This is much more his terrain than that of Szymon Geschke. Darwin Atapuma is going to chase him here as well. Interesting duo if they can get away at the top. Atapuma, who is at 3 minutes and 10 seconds overall. Visconti there too. And Visconti is at 2 minutes and 12. He won last time we're in Vicenza. A really interesting trio. ʻdʒiːro, we suggest at the minute, is just interested in the mountains points, but those two behind Sean are quite dangerous.
Yes, dangerous. And ʻdʒiːro, of course, if he gets to the summit here and takes the maximum points for the mountain classification, he will continue on. And Visconti, you know, we know he is capable of doing this sort of final. He's a real, you know, good puncher. The problem is with Visconti, he's very close in general classification, 2:12. So, you know, the big teams, the general classification men are not going to allow him as much leeway as normal, because he would be further down when he won his stages in the Giro in the past, so it's going to be a difficult one. But again, you know, this terrain, it's so difficult to control. If you have 3 riders out in front who work really well together, it could be also difficult for the likes of Tinkoff to control, because they are, you know, down to very small numbers men-wise now. We can see Rogers on the
Yeah, it is Kreuziger finally on the front now.
Yes.
Rogers has just gone.
Yes, so only Kreuziger. So if there's a little bit of a, you know, downtime here, they could pull a nice advantage out if they get together. There are 3 men out in front.
Rigoberto Urán was there for Ethics Quick-Step. It's ʻdʒiːro who's looking around. That's just referring to what I was saying right at the top of the programme. Vicenza bidding for the 2020 World Championships, waiting to see if their bid is successful from the UCI. Bit of a drink from ʻdʒiːro. Going to try and pedal on to the top of this climb. You can see all the fans at the top of it. Some last bits of food for Astana riders. The racing's on, no time to pick them up. 7% here. Kreuziger at the front, Contador just behind him. Mikel Landa's the man in front of Fabio Aru. This is ʻdʒiːro, the Basque rider who won a stage early in this Giro d'Italia. Basque rider who won the stage to Campitello Matese, stage 8. Hardest mountain stage we've had so far. You just see on the right-hand side, Tanil Kanga coming up to the front as well for Astana. Andre Amador right on the wheel. Richie Porte a little further back down. This is ʻdʒiːro in the meantime. Looks good for these points. It has a 1-point lead as it stands on the road over Szymon Geschke in second place. Stephen Kruijswijk in third. Contador at the front, and Contador just putting the pace on here. Contador making sure that Aru has to follow. So, Contador at the front, Kreuziger just peeling off the back, a little half look around. Not the most stinging of attacks from Contador, but just an increasing of the pace, Sean.
Yes, it is a big push in pace here, and surprising to see him doing it, like with 27 kilometers to go from the top of this climb. Contador, he seems to be really on song in the last 48 hours. You know, it just seems to be getting better. And when you're feeling good, you know, you're just going up the climb, you're under no difficulty, and that's the time you start putting in this little bit of accelerations.
Contador then at the front. He still has Kreuziger in this group. Number 26, there's Diego Rosa. 133 is a man from Orica Green Edge. Esteban Chavez, who stopped this Giro d'Italia fantastically well, but has just been losing time ever so recently. Astana with the numerical superiority at the front, but it's been that way throughout the Giro d'Italia so far. Movistar looking good with 2 or 3 men around Andre Amador as well. Jonas Aguirre is one of them. For Sky, Sean, nobody really around Richie Porte.
Well, there's a number of riders.
Just one rider, pardon me,
yes, there is a number of riders. A bit further down we see there's a number of other riders, and I don't think they're too far off. But the surprising one is Contador. You know, he was they were securing the pace on the front of the peloton, and then he goes in the attack. You know, with such a distance out and so many Astana riders about, I'm surprised to see him doing that.
ʻdʒiːro taking the points for the King of the Mountain. And he will have the blue jersey as we go into the next couple of days. Tomorrow, a flat day, he'll keep the jersey then. He's decided not to go and push on and look for the stage. This is the head of the race. In fact, ʻdʒiːro will now keep the jersey at least until Sunday, when we go to Madonna del Campiglio, di Campiglio, pardon me. 26 Ks to go. Penultimate classified climb out the way. Loads more to come, though, in this fantastically intriguing stage. Descending from the Crociata, we're inside 25 kilometers to go in the finish of this stage 12 now of the Giro d'Italia 2015. And this is a familiar sight on the Giro. Certainly in this part of the world, in the Veneto region. We're in the northeast now. There's a very brief touch of the south last weekend at Campitello Matese. Francis Desjeux rider going for it. There's Diego Lisi on the back of the group. Hanging in there, and a dangerous man if he does hanging there to the finale. Already won one stage of this Giro d'Italia to Fuji. Last time we had an uphill sprint. Well, you can see the mountains in the distance. It's there we head on Sunday. Till then, tomorrow we go back to Jesolo for a sprint. After that's the time trial into the winemaking region for the Prosecco. One way of doing it's MotoGP style. 23.6 k's to go. Oh, it looks as though that mechanical. No, he's just put it a little too far there, Mikel Landa. You rejoin us as Simon Gerrans is down. Darwin Atapuma again caught up in the crash there. We just saw Mikel Landa on one of the corners before you came back to us, pushing it a little far. There's Simon Gerrans on the left-hand side. He's had some awful luck with injuries, crashes, all sorts in the last few months. It's been a nightmare 2015 for him. Esteban Chavez has stayed to wait for him. We've got one rider out in front from Francis Desjeux and a few riders, Sean Kelly, having problems on this descent.
Yes, and we can see why. You know, it's a very technical descent, and Simon Gerrans just you know, sliding off here and not getting back on his bike. It's not going to be for him today the stage victory, and we can see out front the Francis Desjeux rider. He is really taking risk here. We can see him, you know, going around the corners, foot out, like GP style, as you say, and he is really pushing on here. Hopefully he gets down this descent, because the way he's been going.
And a little bit of a compensation there. It's almost like Valentino Rossi style, isn't it?
Yes, certainly looking like MotoGP.
In the meantime, for Simon Gerrans, we're waiting for the car. Is Gerrans going to carry on here?
Gruppetto.
Big gruppetto today. The likes of Mr. Petacchi and all the big bosses at the back have got their hands full. They'll be watching their watches. I don't think there's any problem for the time limit today, but it's going to be a lot of guys together. Simon Gerrans is going to carry on, which is good news. But again, as you say, it's very much gruppetto for him today. So the plan goes out the window for Orica Green Edge. Michael Matthews was still in the group when we last looked at it. This is the attempt to try and get away from the rider who he's going so fast we can't identify him. The camera can't get in to have a look. This is the chase behind. Astana riders are there. Aro is third wheel in the white jersey. Alberto Contador isolated at the front at the minute in the pink jersey, although we feel that Roman Kreuziger is still in the main group a little further far behind. 21 k's to go. We've got an unclassified climb to Perarolo coming up next. Again, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. All over the place here, Sean. There's taking risks, and there's taking risks.
He has to be a cyclocrosser, the way he's getting down this descent, and you know, he's had a few scares, but still just pushes on here and you know, taking a lot of risk.
Thankfully there was a smile at the end of it there. Oh, all the confidence is going now. No wonder. Cannot pick the lines. Things not being helped at all by the weather today. Astana have had Landa at the front. Landa already having his own problems trying to stay on his bike whilst we're away at the break. Approaching the last 20 kilometres. It's a nervous atmosphere even in the commentary box here, because we're just hoping everybody stays on their bike. We've had a rider who hasn't. Looks like a rider from Yam Cycling. It's Stef Clement. Sky rider involved as well. Stef Clement, the Dutchman who rides for Yam Cycling. impossible to see from that shot who the Sky Rider was. 20.5 k's to go. Again, the flags are out. Everybody has to be careful. Kanga towards the front here. There's Contador second wheel. Aru just behind him. ʻdʒiːro, the Spanish champion. Rigoberto Urán is there. The rider from RCS Sport as well. We know that Alexandre Geniez is at 4 minutes and 41. This, as we said, is Tanel Kanga, the Estonian rider from Astana. Kanga, who's at 13 minutes and 38 seconds. Finally, it's good to see Steph Clement being attended to. Doctor's car is there, as is the team car just arriving now. Again, another problem on this descent. Health always comes first, so it's good that the doctors get there first, but if you want to carry on, Sean, it's so difficult because if your team car's further back, you can be waiting a long, long time.
Yes, well, we can see the peloton is just all over the place, groups everywhere.
Rigoberto Urán, pardon me, Sean, because he comes off the front now. Urán, who has time to make up. He must have been feeling good today. In the meantime, this is Peter Weining. Everybody seemingly having problems with those last couple of corners. Urán to the front to try and put the pace on, and Steph Clement, for him, it's not looking great. Doctors and the medics doing their job. Now Urán behind. Richie Porte just looking for him right on the wheel of André Amador and another rider from Astana who have plenty of bodies and plenty of men up here. This group very, very close to making the difference. All the main men are in. Contador, Aru, Urán, Porte and the rest. Oops. Thankfully it was rescued. A few riders behind just going off and missing that. Legs out all over the place, more unclipping and clipping than in the morning commute, Sean, at the traffic lights.
Amazing that he made it down, because he wasn't getting his line right. We could see him when the Astana rider, Tanel Kanga, came to him. He just, was riding by much smoother in the course, but he's certainly the Française Giro rider all over the place.
Alberto Contador at the front. You can just see those marks on his knees from crashes early on in the Giro d'Italia. Riders distance here, a couple of different groups on the road. Really, really intriguing watch to see how it pans out now. One more climb before the final dart to the line. It's the climb to Perarolo. It's 2.9 kilometres long. We've got some gradients up at 10%, Sean, as well, still to climb yet. More ramps for attack. Are you surprised that the organisers haven't classified this one?
Well, it's a one that you could classify, because it is a serious one as well, around the 2.9, and the gradient is up to 7%, so it does merit to be classified. But there's so many in the final, I suppose they have to just drop that one. But again, it's going to be a difficult one here. The way they've been racing, the conditions here, they're making the descents really full on, and so we can see there's just groups everywhere now at the moment, and the main peloton is just split into a number of groups.
Richie Porte's in this group, Damiano Cunego in the group, as well as Urán and Geniez. Amador towards the front as well, he's having a great first week of the Giro d'Italia, as is Johnny ʻdʒiːro, the Spanish champion. Contador, Aru, and Aru's lieutenant. I'm going to say Contador's got nobody with him here. Contador in the pink though, looking after himself well. 17.5 k's to go. The group chasing on has a couple of riders from Tinkoff Saxo. Couple of riders from Sky as well, with 2 BMC men as well. Michael Matthews no longer in the front group. We've seen already Simon Gerrans crash out. He's back on his bike and riding, but it will be Gruppetto and a slow arrival for him today, on a day when he planned to try and win the stage. 2 Ethics Quick-Step riders in. Rigoberto Urán has company. Porte will feel a little isolated though here, as that group just behind looks as though it's going to come back on. It's still Kanga doing the work on the flat. Well, after that last descent, Sean, it's going to take somebody very, very brave to go on the final descent.
Well, I think this final descent is a much shorter one, of course. that one was a serious descent. It was a number of kilometres, and it was also very technical. But again, with the wet conditions, you don't need much. If somebody really, going the attack and take a lot of risk, then we could see problems once again. Hopefully not, because we're after seeing enough of problems already today. Hopefully we get down this non-categorised climb and get on to the final climb to the finish.
Contador's two men are working their way back to the front. Rogers and Kreuziger, the men who were with him on the climb. I'll make him feel a little better about things. Not that I think he was worrying too much anyway. David de la Cruz, the Catalan rider, is the man for Rigoberto Urán. They're just in conversation at the back here in Etixx Quick-Step colours. Richie Porte has a couple more men coming to join him. Mikel Nieve, one of those. Leopold Koenig is the other. Salvatore Puccio still in this group as well. Now Pelizzotti. Pelizzotti having a go. Androni have had two men off the front, one early on in the breakaway in the shape of Apollonio. We saw Zilioli go. Pelizzotti's no worry at 47 minutes and 13 seconds. Androni, who haven't had a stage win the Giro d'Italia yet. Pelizzotti's going to try from 15.5 kilometres to go. Good time for a move. Certainly he's not going to interfere in the plans of the GC guys. No,
there'll be no worry about the GC here, so the teams working for the GC men, they're not going to really be concerned here. And for Pelizzotti as well, it's a time to get out, have a go. Why not have a try and get onto this climb? If you can get over this climb here and then make the descent, get onto the flatter section to finish and pull out a nice advantage, because you would need that 30 seconds plus for the final climb. Otherwise he gets walled up very quickly on the very steep ramp to the finish here today.
2 stage wins at the Giro d'Italia for Franco Pelizzotti, 2006 and 2008. The last time he took one was the Mountain Time Trial. Showered in a shade of pink there. The pink maybe for Alberto Contador. Here we go then, penultimate climb of the day. Of course I say that because it's an uphill finish. This is the final climb and descent of the day. Stefano Locco in front, just waving his arms and showing his displeasure there at the fact that the motorbikes were a little too close for his liking. Betancourt's still in this group as well. Pelizzotti, well, he won't be thanking those supporters, Sean, if that just gets in his way.
No, certainly will not, and it's not the time to have that sort of a problem where it gets into your rear drive system. It could cause him a problem. It does look like it's into the sprocket at the moment, but it's hanging in a real dangerous position.
Don't change onto the bottom sprocket. I don't think there's any danger with the ramps on this particular climb anyway. It goes up to 10%. 46 at the back is Sylvain Dillier. Good ride from him to be close to the front. This looks like it's the second group on the road to me, though. Let's have a look at the front. Trying to see who's up there. Yeah, Ulrika Green Edge riders there as well. This is not the front group. Diego Rosa. This is Pelizzotti, though. All of his wins in his career as we head up Pedalolo at 7% average and 10% maximum. All bar one of his victories, the ones he was allowed to keep anyway. Of course, he's a man who was caught by the biological passport system, Franco Pelizzotti. He won one stage of Paris-Nice in 2007, but all the rest of the wins in his career, all 7 of them have come in Italy. It's a nervous watch to see where all that ticker tape gets, though. One on the base of his shoe at the minute as well. Pelizzotti, a man from the northeast of Italy. Mick Rogers on the front, the Australian. Seguirre on the left-hand side having a good day. Cunego in that front group once again. Much better Giro d'Italia this year from him. Just over 14 kilometres to go on stage 12 of the Giro. And as we expected, it has been whittled down to a fight between the GC guys. Fabio Felline here, just losing contact with the front group. Looks as though quite a few riders are close to getting back on as well, Sean.
Yes, looks like this group is going to make contact with the group of all the main favourites, so it tells that up front a steadier pace being set by Mick Rogers, and It's normally we would see that Rogers, you know, very experienced, you know, don't push too hard because there's no need to. With Pelozzotti out in front, you can allow him to, you know, to ride on the stage victory, even if he gets, you know, enough of an advantage to go on and challenge for that. Tinkoff, Saxo are not really concerned. It's all about just securing a pace here and keeping Contador in a safe position for the moment.
It is that safe position, waiting for the final climb as Pelizzotti's advantage continues to grow. Barbecue out in the corner there, despite the rainy weather. It's a day out for all of these guys on the climb. Another of the many switchbacks we've seen today. Good news for these guys is that the descent is nowhere near as long, this time. Basque fan on the side of the road there with his Athletic Bilbao shirt on. Pelizzotti at the front. This is Alberto Contador. Aru just watching him. Already pushed on the pace on the last climb, did Contador, without really going for a full gas attack. Movistar having a good day. Richie Porte there. None of his teammates around him. They are in this group though, a couple of them. One of them is Leopold Koenig. Blue jersey of Beñat Chausti, the current king of the mountains. This is Fabio Fellini getting back onto the group. Well, very, very interesting development. Fast man uphill. Teeth gritted. It's a real effort, this by Pelizzotti. He's a man trying to get back on as well. Diego Lisi, stage winner into Fuji. We've had ticker tape, and now we've got stuff that they won't enjoy breathing. Flares on the course as well. Attack from Kruijswijk. Kruijswijk on the attack yet again. No points at the top of this climb. He's tried to take a stage win from the breakaway a couple of times as well as Steven Kruijswijk. He's 10 minutes and 30 down. Not a worry for the general classification teams at the minute. Looks behind, knows he's not being followed at the minute. It's whether he has the pace and the energy after all of those attempts to get out in the break. Ulisi, less than 10 seconds off getting back onto the Maglia Rosa group. 24 seconds for Pelizzotti at the minute though, it's looking nice.
Yes, and we've just seen Pelizzotti, the shots off him, he's really, you know, digging in, and that's what he's got to do here. He's got to go full on, try and, you know, get a good advantage before we get to the top of this penultimate climb, because there is 12.8 kilometers to finish, and of course the descent. If you can get into that section and the flat section before the finish, it's a little bit of downtime where the, you know, the main teams look at each other.
And Contador's going to follow this attack from Visconti. Contador wants to keep the Maglia Rosa. Just behind him, number 28 from Astana. It's Tiralongo that follows. Aru is a few wheels back down though. Here goes Amador too. Izagirre on his wheel. Movistar with 3 riders towards the front. Aru in the white jersey behind, and Contador I think is looking to see where Richie Porte is, who's quite a few wheels down.
Yes, and we can see Contador just following Visconti, just looking so comfortable there. Able to look around and see what's happening behind, and that tells you that he's just, you know, under no pressure at all here for the moment.
Tiralongo, the man who followed that attack. Aru again a few wheels back. Pelizzotti over the top of the climb on the descent with an 18-second advantage. That advantage though eaten into somewhat by that little bit of an acceleration. Now what can Astana do here again? Tanel Kangat picks it up at the front. They have men, and it's not just Fabio Aru as well. Remember that Mikel Landa's at 46 seconds. Dario Cataldo 1:16.2. Aru being brought to the front. Contador making sure he's very, very close. Really trying to show everybody who's bass. Interesting that Astana still have numerical superiority at the front. Is that going to play into Aru's hands at the end, or they're just got to hope that he's there and good enough to follow any attacks should they come from Contador?
Well, I think Astana, we can see there with Kangert on the front, just setting the pace. I think they just want to take control of the front of the peloton and you know, just keep on riding at a good pace to stop all the attacks from the rest of the riders here in this group. The interesting one is Aru. how good is he? Yesterday, was he really suffering? And they are the ones who know that. They will be, relaying the information. I think ďiːro maybe not his best yesterday, and again today a little bit of difficulty because maybe of the wet conditions, and he doesn't support that as well as a Contador, for example.
Contador loves the rain. He's already said that he was disappointed the first day it was raining because he still wasn't better fully from his shoulder. He has Kreuziger coming up to join him again. Kreuziger looks in really good form in this Giro d'Italia. Kreuziger at GC is at 1 minute and 46 as well. Another danger man, certainly for the other teams. Inside the top 10 at the minute. Franco Pellizotti on the left-hand side with 18 seconds of an advantage, 10.7 k's to go. He's heading on a very slight descent, then it's going to be flat roads for a few kilometres. The last 1.2 k's are difficult. And with the peloton behind, GC seconds and bonus seconds maybe to race for, it's still a finely balanced equation.
Yes, it's a difficult one for Pellizotti because we can see Astana securing quite a strong pace, and when you have a number of Astana riders, 3 at the front of the moment, more arriving here, they're just going to relay each other, and for Pellizotti, he's going to make a huge effort to hold on to this 19 seconds, and he would prefer to pull it out a bit more because the final climb up to the finish he's going to have difficulty even with that 19-20 seconds to hold on.
I'd suggest that Cataldo's maybe not on a great day as well. He was the last man to get there. Cataldo's the other car to play at 1 minute and 16, trying to hang on as much as he can, of course. The more men they have up there when they get to the mountains, already 3 in the top 5, it's going to be very, very important for them. This is Pellizotti at 16 seconds in front. Under the 10 kilometres to go, Bannon. Remember, 2 previous Giro d'Italia stage wins. He was in the polka dot jersey at the Tour de France a few years back, but remember he then had the problems with the biological passport. He had a 2-year suspension, won the Italian National Championship on his race back, and he's been racing for Androni Siremek ever since. Walter Waylont's number on that bike. Local project, and they're getting their time on the telly as well, even braving the rain too. On our way to Vicenza today. 2 years ago, it was Visconti that won in Vicenza. We've got to finish up Monte Berico. It's up to the Santa Maria Church up there. It's a sanctuary. It's actually closed today. Not the monks letting anybody in. 11 seconds for Pellizotti. Big pace behind from Astana now. Kanga is putting it on. Just trying to keep it high enough. Man they're working for is 4th wheel in the white jersey. They still have Tiralongo in this group. Kanga doing the work. We've seen Cataldo there as well. We've seen Mikel Landa. Mikel Landa in the top 3 at the minute. Oh, such a hard one this for Pellizotti. He's from the northeast of Italy before. He's actually from Friuli, far northeast corner of Italy. We're in the Veneto here for the Venetian riders. Remember, Enrico Battaglin is racing into his hometown. So Kanga out the front, trying to put the pace on a little. Interesting to try and read Astana's tactics here.
Well, I think Kanga in the descent, he's descending real well. We could see the way when we had the front says the ďiːro rider out in front, Genier, he just floated up to him, so comfortable, and here he's been on the front. He just took 15-20 meters an advantage, and he looks around there, and it looks like that he's starting to push on at the moment, and Pellizotti having real difficulty holding on. We can see advantage down to 11 seconds at the moment.
BMC come to the front. We've seen Atapuma close as well. Good riding from Damiano Caruso, who's 2 minutes and 20, the best placed rider on general classification. These roads are wet through here on the way to Vicenza today. Everybody having to be careful, even on a short descent such as this. Pellizotti 11 seconds ahead of Tanel Kanga, who's just a few wheel lengths off the front of the peloton. Which say, what's left of the favourite groups. That's De La Cruz at the back. Left-hand side for Etixx Quick Step, so no worries as far as Rigoberto ran at the minute. It was a few wheels further up. Snorrica Green Edge rider still left here. Here is Franco Pellizotti. 7 seconds. Still giving it his all. You see the expression on his face, very much a pained one. Kangut at 7. Estonian rider, as you can see, has the favourites hot on his heels, and even little gaps opening up on the descent. The weather's foul, as you can see. The wind on the side of the roads as well now. There's îdʒiːro, the Spanish champion. 197 there for Sky. Salvatore Puccio around Ritchie Port. 195 is Leopold Koenig. And here goes îdʒiːro. Jon îdʒiːro, the Spanish champion, out to try and chase down Philippe Gilbert. So Gilbert with a move from the front. Obviously feels that he's got to go ahead of these guys because there's going to be a bit of a sprint behind if they all stay together for general classification, bonus seconds and positions. So Gilbert in the red and black, the former world champion from Belgium. Quick conversation, quick word there with the current Spanish champion, Jon îdʒiːro, the Basque rider from Movistar. Hard work this now for Pellizotti, Sean.
Yes, it's very, very difficult for Pellizotti. We can see here, you know, Kangut trying to come across, and then of course Gilbert going in the attack. You know, it's a moment to do that because Gilbert knows if he waits for the final climb with the big general classification, man, he's not going to be able to match them on this real steep one. So the opportunity is there to try and, you know, just pull enough out and go on to the final climb with hopefully, you know, 15 or 20 second advantage. But Astana are still securing quite a strong pace for in the group of all big favourites.
Well, it's still looking to be a very, very fast finish, right on the fastest time schedule that was possible today by the organisers. First hour, remember, 53 kilometres covered as Kangut attacks Pellizotti.